Everyone, what I have here is the final stove to show off in regards to the Savotta wood burning stoves, the hobo stoves. My name is Luke. Welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. This is the big and bad stove. In the past, we took a look at the happy stove and the grumpy stove. This is the big bad version. Just like all the other stoves, this one comes with a carry pouch, 1000D Kadura, very nice quality. You have a grab handle, Velcro closure. The setup process for this stove is just like the others. You have the notches on the sides and they link together. You take the face plate, you put that to the side. You take the side pieces, slide them together. Once you have the three sides together, you take the base plate, you put it in the notches, and then you take the face plate and put it on. And it all goes together just like that. Nice and easy. Before I fire up this stove, let's compare all three. So we have the big and bad stove, we have the grumpy stove, and we have the happy stove. These stoves are awesome. I really like the design decisions made with each of them. And more importantly, they are good performers. The quality's there. With the big and bad, it is a bigger stove. The materials are thicker. It's big and bad, right? The other two are virtually the same size, the same form factor, you just have the different faces. I have reviewed these two, and this is my final review of the big and bad stove. What you are getting here with all three are very good stoves, high quality. They come from a well-known company that produces excellent gear, and I can recommend any one of these stoves. When it comes to the dimensions, let's start with the stowaway form. You are looking at 6 3/4 inches by 6.5 inches. It's roughly half an inch thick when it's all inside of the carry case. It is 5 1/4 inches wide, it's 5 1/4 inches long, and it's 5 3/4 inches tall. The weight of this stove is 18.4 ounces, and that does include the storage bag. The weight of the bag itself is 1.4 ounces. The stove is made from 0.8 millimeter laser cut stainless steel. The retail price of this stove is $55, and I got it from the Scandinavian Outdoor website. That's the site that I ordered it from. It states on the website that they cannot ship this stove to the United States. So I'm not sure exactly how I was able to, and if you can't purchase it from there, you may have to look around to find a store that will ship it to the US. As I mentioned before, the big and bad stove is the largest Savotta stove, hobo stove, that they make. And with it being such a good size, you can really pack this thing full of material, and you can use some very large diameter pieces of wood. In fact, you could take a large piece of wood that would fit inside of that. You could split it, take the pieces, and reverse them, right? So that the outside bark is on the inside. You could start a fire in the center, and this thing will burn for like an hour straight. It's pretty impressive. I would show that to you all, but everything here is soaking wet. We just had 2 snowstorms, and everything's still drying out. The small stuff that's laying above the ground is somewhat dry, but everything else is soaking wet. No matter what, in the future, I will show you all that trick. The setup process is very simple, very quick. With a little bit of practice, you can get this done in about 30 seconds. If it's your first time setting it up, it might give you a little bit of trouble, but you will get it. It's not overly complicated. The design is good. The form factor is good of the big and bad stove. The leg supports lift the stove off the ground so you can put this on uneven terrain. Everything locks together so you don't have to worry about it falling apart. That's a big plus. It's very efficient. There's plenty of air holes. The feeding port is huge. You have a lot of space inside of the stove for material. You can use this with any size cup or pot, but because it's so big and it puts out so much heat, you would want to use a larger pot or pan. The stove breaks down rather flat, and you can put this inside of your backpack and you wouldn't even notice that it's there. It's lightweight, but it's not ultra lightweight. It comes in at just a little bit more than 1 pound. So yeah, it is a larger stove. The weight is a little bit noticeable, but the size is not. The form factor is not. The thickness of the steel is very good, and I've experienced no warping with this material even after hour-long burns with this stove. There are without a doubt stoves that offer much thinner materials out on the market than this. And the truth is, there are many stoves out there that do not feature such a good design. Further pros include the fuel is free. It's fun to use. It's easy to clean up. It's very stable. I've had no issues with this wanting to fall over or tip over even when I bump it. It's a very stable stove. The quality of this stove is excellent. All the edges are very smooth, very polished. It's a very nice product. The stove is easy to light from any direction. You can light from the top or even from the front. And also, because you have the air holes that go all the way around the body, you can also light from there as well. Another aspect that I like about this stove is that the base plate does not feature any holes in the bottom. So you can use this stove with minimal embers and coals and whatnot falling out of it. That's important. Many of the wood stoves that are out on the market feature the base plate that has lots of holes in it for air. While they are efficient, they're extremely dangerous, especially in dry conditions. Speaking of efficiency, this stove is very efficient. It will burn everything down to ash, and it does a very good job. There's plenty of air holes here. You will have no issues when it comes to burning dry materials. Also, because there's so many air holes and also the feeding hole is so big, you can easily blow inside of this and get your materials to burn if things are a little bit damp. And just like that, everyone, 1 liter of water brought to a boil in roughly 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. Of course, your boil times will really depend on the quality of your materials, how dry they are, thickness and whatnot. Moving on over to the cons, I should say that for the most part, my pros and cons with this stove are the same for the Happy and also the Grumpy stove. I mean, this is by no means complicated to put together, but if you're not familiar with putting together wood stoves like this, it could give you a little bit of a hard time, but once you got it, you got it. For a wood burning stove, a hobo stove, this is expensive. There are many collapsible wood stoves out on the market that are much less expensive than this one here. And at the same time, there are stoves that are much more expensive that don't feature such a good design or the same quality of materials. Additional cons for a stove like this include the fact that it is a dirty stove. It's going to pump out smoke. There's going to be some soot, your pots are going to get dirty. It's a simple fact of using a stove like this. And additionally, stoves like this do require quite a bit of work. You have to pay attention to them, you have to feed them. In my opinion, it's fun. I like feeding the beast, as I've always said, but those are aspects that you need to consider before purchasing a stove like this. One con that I have that is unique to this stove and not the others is the cool down time. Thanks to the thicker materials, this stove does take longer to cool down. The pot supports, you'll be surprised at how long they will stay hot. It is substantial. What I will do once I'm done with my cook, with the burn, I will knock out the coals and embers, put them out, and I will lay the stove on its side facing the wind. That way the wind will go into the stove and cool everything down quicker. And everyone, that is my review of the Savotta Big and Bad stove. I want to hear from you all. What do you all think about the Big and Bad, especially compared to the others? Again, there's the Happy, the Grumpy, the Big and Bad, and I believe that's it. Each one of these stoves I purchased with my own money, and I like them a lot. I can easily recommend them. The Happy and the Grumpy are basically the same size. The Big and Bad, it's big and bad. It is. They are more expensive than your average hobo stove, as I mentioned before, but you're getting excellent quality all the way around. The stainless steel, very good quality. Everything's polished, nothing's sharp. It goes together, it locks together, it doesn't fall apart. It doesn't have any of the problems that a lot of inexpensive hobo stoves have. And with that, I'm done. Make sure to sound off in the comment section down below. You know that I appreciate you all. Everyone, take care, strength and honor. Oh, if you have another wood stove that you would like for me to review, let me know in the comments. I will get it, test it out, and give you all my agenda-free review. Take care, strength and honor. Bye.